Okay, y'all, good evening. Welcome back to my channel. It has definitely been a hot minute. If you're new here, my name is Jaden. I'm a mom of three littles. I have my daughter who just turned one like 4 days ago, and then I have a 2-year-old son, and then my oldest daughter will turn 5 in like 2 weeks. So I'm very busy. But anyway, I'm going to finally do a very requested video, which is a story time of the birth of my third daughter. And the reason it's so requested is because I had her at home and it was completely unplanned. So here is the birth story of my unplanned home birth. And we'll just jump right into it. So like I said, she just turned one on July 17th, so just a couple days ago, which is wild. And so I'm going to kind of just share what I remember. It was very like surreal, like just that it all happened like such a whirlwind. Like even just a few minutes afterwards, so it was like, what in the world just happened? But yeah, we will just jump in. And I'm excited to be able to have this to like look back on, because I'm sure I will continue to forget, but also it was like such a crazy experience that I'm like, wow, like I can't ever forget this moment, even though I probably won't forget like any of my kids' births. I feel like you still forget little pieces here and there. So anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling and we will just jump right into it. So let's see. Oh goodness, I never even know how to like start these things. So it was all, like I said, really quick. My husband was kind of doing his own thing. It was evening time. I was having some contractions. I think I was like timing them. I was texting my friends, of course, and they're all like, oh, like this is your third kid. Like you're gonna know when you're having contractions, whatever. And I don't know why with each of my kids, like every time I was in labor, I was in such denial, even though you think like the third time you would be like, oh yeah, this is definitely happening. I feel like you're also at the point where you just want like every single time to be it. That you get in such denial when it actually finally is time. But anyway, so basically I was contracting, couldn't really sleep, like they were getting more and more painful. I had like the timer, but they were also super inconsistent. So my husband was kind of just like, whatever type thing. Also at this time we were in the military. And so we did not have like any people, like we didn't have any family nearby. My husband's grandparents were about 3.5, 4 hours away. But I did have my Bible study leader. She was kind of like on call, so that was very nice. We're so thankful and grateful that she was able to help us out, of course, because when you're like in the military, it's just very stressful. And like most of my friends had kids of their own, so it would have been hard for them to just like drop everything type of situation. So anyway, I was having inconsistent contractions, but they were getting like more and more intense type of thing. My other two births were very quick. Well, they were like 4.5-ish hours, and they both were, I did not have an epidural on either of them. And then I think I pushed for like 10 minutes. I want to say I barely even pushed with my first daughter, and then with my son I pushed for about 10 minutes. So anyway, so my other two kids were sleeping when I was having the contractions. I think it was around like 11 o'clock, and I hopped in the bath. And then I ended up going to get my other two kids because I think like in my mind I was like, okay, like this could definitely be happening. And so I was having some major like mom guilt type thing because my son was only like a year old. Like he had just turned a year old like 2 months prior to my daughter, because they were only like 15 months apart. And so just having major mom guilt. I obviously had like my oldest daughter, and so I went and woke them up, which, as I know, like you never do that, but I went and woke them up. So they got into the bath with me. I think my husband had gone to bed at this time. I think he had to work the next morning. And so I kind of didn't let him know like how like serious it was getting type thing, because I was also still like, oh, like it's whatever, like, because I also had like false contractions a couple times before that. And so anyway, I got my other two kiddos. We all like took a bath together, and they were getting more and more intense. I remember telling like my daughter, she was 3, I was like, oh, like I just have a stomach ache, like it's fine, as I'm like sitting there like breathing and struggling through these contractions type of thing. So then it's probably like 1, 2 in the morning. And then my husband, I think he took my son back to my son's room. So my son went back to bed. However, I believe my daughter was like still in our room with my husband, and because it was getting like way more intense. And so I was like struggling, because you know, labor can be very painful. And so I was kind of just like breathing. I was listening to music in the bathroom. That's like what I did with my other two for as long as I could as well. And goodness, I'm like trying to remember. It's so hard. I have such a bad memory. But so yeah, my daughter was with my husband, and I was in the bathroom just kind of laboring. They were getting obviously more intense, more close together. And so I'm in there like crying, and she's like in our room, and I'm trying to like keep it down a little so I don't like freak her the freak out type of situation. And I think like my husband, so I'm just gonna like fast forward to like the good stuff, because I feel like it's like such a blur. And so I believe my husband, he tried taking my daughter back to her room, and of course she was like not having it, because I think like she knew like something was going on, and so she was just not about to go back to her room to bed. And like of course she would have just come out. So she continued to stay up. I continued laboring in the bathroom by myself, crying through these contractions, just like, what is happening? And I kept putting off calling my Bible study leader, because it's like 3:30 in the morning. I felt so bad, and I felt so bad waking her up. And she also lived probably like 25 minutes away. So yeah, it was like 3 in the morning. And I think I finally called her around probably 3:30 in the morning, and was like I think it's time, because yeah, they were very painful. So I'm like calling her, like crying type of situation around 3:30 in the morning. And so she has to, of course, like wake up, you know, get in her car, drive over. And so after I had called her, so my daughter was still awake, my husband had her, I think my husband was like downstairs getting everything ready for the hospital. And so I went upstairs, and this was just after I called my Bible study leader. And so it's probably like 3:40, 3:45. I'm like upstairs packing my makeup bag, because of course I wasn't prepared, because I thought we still had a couple of days. And it was all of a sudden, I'm like packing my bag, because my hospital bag isn't ready. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, you know the feeling when you're like, you feel like you have to push, and you can't get that feeling out, because like hello, like a baby's head is trying to like push their way through. And so I remember having that feeling standing upstairs in my bathroom as I'm packing stuff, and I like still have my pants on, like everything, and I'm just like, what is happening? And I literally remember like trying to basically like push, like I guess like obviously it was like her head, like I'm literally trying to like keep her head up there, because I literally feel like once again, like that feeling, the moms out there who have given birth, like you know that feeling, and you cannot like, it just doesn't go away. And so I remember just like trying to like literally like down there, like push back up there type of situation. And so that happens. And so I remember I leave my bathroom after that happened. My husband's still downstairs with my daughter getting ready and everything. And I remember like going to the top of the stairs, and I'm like, I yell for my husband, and I'm like it's happening, like this baby is coming. And I still had my pants on and everything. And like, goodness, like it's just so surreal. So basically I make it down the stairs, and my husband's calling 911. And all of a sudden, like I still have my pants on, and then I'm like standing in our doorway, My Bible study leader still isn't there. She was born at like, we ended up putting like 4:02 as the time because we basically just estimated around the time he called 911. And so it's like around 4 in the morning, 4:02, whatever. And I'm standing in the doorway, and like I said, my pants are on, and I'm like, Eric, like, she's literally coming. Like, and he's like, no, you have to wait, blah, blah, blah. So he's like calling 911. I'm like, no, like, she's like, it's not gonna wait. So like, I wasn't even pushing, and she basically just like her head was just like, it was coming up. Like, she was ready. So I make it a couple steps over to the living, like to the middle of the living room. Like, of course, like this was unplanned. Like we had nothing prepared. Like there were no towels down, nothing. It's just good old base housing, carpet, like that off-white, you know, wonderful stuff that they just love to charge you extra for. So we did get charged some extra for that when we moved out. And anyways, my daughter's sitting on our couch as well because she did not want to go to bed because she like knew, obviously, when she like hears me like crying, like all the things, like contracting, all these things. So she was sitting on the couch. And so I make it to the living room floor, like I said, and I finally like get my pants off, and like next thing you know, like my husband's there, and he's like on the phone with 911, and he's like, the baby is out. Like the baby is out. And they're just like, oh my gosh. And I remember just like freaking out because she was not crying, and obviously like, hello, this was not planned. Like we didn't have any medical professionals there type of thing. Like it was just me, my husband, and our 3-year-old. And so I was like, she's not crying. And I'm like yelling at my husband. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like freaking out. And then he ended up having to, so like the person on 911, like talked him through, like he had to like take out his shoestring from his shoe and tie like her umbilical cord. It was just wild. Like I still had my it was like a sweatshirt that I had made on Etsy. It said like mama. I was so excited. I got like my husband a matching one. Now that is like, it was all bloody obviously because I just gave birth in it. My pants are like on the floor. 911 had like sent an ambulance to our house, and literally as like me and my baby are being wheeled out the door, like there's our, so like they had to come and they like lifted us up onto the stretcher, and it was just crazy because like I said, like nothing was prepared. So I'm like sitting here like with my new baby, and my Bible study leader literally like just arrived as like we were being wheeled out, and there's just like these 2 random guys from the ambulance or whatever. And so it was really awkward like nursing because I'm just like, she's like, she finally was like crying and everything, and like her cord's still attached to me, like I hadn't delivered the placenta yet. And so I'm like cramping, and I'm like, you know, because like you want to nurse like as soon as they're born, and you're usually like in a gown and all prepared and everything, and that was not the case. So I had like a bra and my sweatshirt and all the things, and so I'm just like, it's just like so awkward, and I like have this gown like over my legs because I was like, my pants were off, and so it was just wild. It truly was insane. I remember just riding in the ambulance, and my husband, he came like a few minutes later because he had to obviously like explain to my Bible study leader, like, you know, about our other 2 kiddos, and he had to grab our bags and finish packing everything. And so he like met us there. And so me and my baby like went to the hospital, and of course they had to do all those tests and all the amazing fun stuff. And then I ended up delivering the placenta at the hospital. They did cut the cord in the ambulance. But like I said, my husband like he tied it off with a shoestring, so that's like insane as well. But yeah, it was crazy. Like just like, I don't know. Like I said, they like put foil over her too, like in the ambulance, I assume like to keep her warm. But it was just crazy because I'm like over here like trying to like nurse her and latch her in the ambulance, and we're like bumping, like the roads are like, they were so bumpy, and she's just like screaming her head off, and I'm like, she's obviously like no clothes, nothing, and I'm like, it was crazy. It was just wild. And honestly, like it worked out because I didn't have epidurals with my first two. I didn't plan on that one. And so looking back, like I honestly wouldn't change a thing, except for maybe I'd put some towels down because there was like so much blood on the floor, on the floor. Let's be real. But yeah, it was a wild experience. That's my other two kiddos right now. Her supposed to be sleeping, but it was wild. Do you guys hear my son? That's my son in there saying, "I love mama." That's so cute. But yeah, it was crazy. Like I always dreamt of having like a home birth or like one like in a birthing hospital type of situation or like a birthing center. But I think the only thing I would change is just being like a little more, I guess, prepared like with my other two. That way my husband could have like been around more, because like I said, like I basically just labored like the entirety of it by myself. So I didn't really have any like support as far as that goes. But also having my other two kids, like when I was in like the bath with them and stuff, I definitely feel like it kind of helped to relieve some of the labor pains, because I didn't want to like make them think that I was dying, even though my daughter saw the entire thing. So I think that's like basically the gist of it. If you guys have any questions, definitely ask them below and I will do my best to answer them. I do remember like in the hospital, I had super bad shakes. Like I was like shaking, like it was insane. They were like, are you okay? But I just remember shaking so much. And also I was losing a lot of blood, but it was super frustrating because I don't remember, like I feel like I delivered some of my placenta like at my house, and that's also why I don't remember. But anyway, so basically they thought that there were like pieces of my placenta in my stomach or like left over in my uterus still type of thing. And so they had to like order an ultrasound, but they ended up like giving me like those, I think it was like they gave me like Pitocin and then like Cytotec or something, which if you don't know, intensifies your cramps so much. And then they ended up not even needing to give me any of that. So I was so frustrated. Like I was telling my husband, like, no, like why did you let them do that? Because I was like, no, all they had to do was do the ultrasound, and then like none of that was necessary at all. And I will say also, like my daughter, so the first like night was like super rough. And then like I remember she like threw up like a whole bunch. We don't know like if she swallowed like fluid or something, or just like the way her delivery was. Basically though, she was so like fussy. I remember feeling so defeated, not gonna lie. And then she threw up, and literally it was like a completely new baby. So basically we think that she just had like a really bad stomach ache because she like swallowed the like fluid or something. So I remember like she just threw up, and then like literally it was just like the most peaceful and chill. And I was like, okay, I think I can do this whole 3 kids thing. No, but yeah, I honestly would not change that birth story for anything. Like it was just like looking back, like I cannot wait to like tell her that story and like getting to just share it. Like, yeah, she was birthed unplanned at home, in the living room. My husband and I delivered her, or she kind of delivered herself, like literally came out as my pants were still on. So yeah, it was crazy. Like she's our last baby, and so, well, we'll see about that. No, she is most likely our last baby. And so that was quite like grand finale for sure. And I don't know, like I feel like, okay, like it's cool because I got kind of like my dream birth, even though like it was so wild. Yeah, it was good, rather than like being in the hospital, because I hated being in the hospital and being hooked up to all those stupid IVs, and just everything was just so frustrating. And so it's just kind of nice, you know, to like get my way, did it at home. Everything worked out with like having someone be able to come stay with the kids, because that's always so stressful. So it all worked out and it was great. And there's my unplanned home birth story. a year later. And so, yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, just definitely ask. I just know like I'll do like reels or like talk about it in like snippets, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you have to do a story time. So there it is. It's probably not that interesting, but to me it is, and it's just my little story that, I don't know, I am thankful, I guess, that I have. And so thank you for watching. If you stuck by me this entire time, and if you're new here, definitely hit the subscribe button. I definitely want to start making content again. I have to like explain everything, but it was just such a rut for the longest time. I have 3 littles, and then life after getting out of the military was just wild, and I finally feel like, okay, I could create content again, and it would be enjoyable, and I guess also like relatable, because I have, once again, like 3 small kids, and life is not always rainbows and sunshine, and I feel like other moms need to like see that and be aware of that. Like right there, you may see like clean, but then like right there next to me is like a mess type of situation. Like toys, but it's fine because this is our space. So anyway, if you're new here and you relate to any of this sort of content, then definitely hit the subscribe button, and hopefully you will be seeing me soon in some more videos. And as always, leave any comments, questions, whatever you have below, and I will see you guys next time.